When I first started to have an inkling that philosophy was a calling for me as a young student, I experienced a lot of suspicion from the church and from my Christian community. And they all love to quote from the book of Colossians that I should not be captive to vain philosophy. And so they set up this tension and this inherent kind of conflict between faith and philosophy. But then I read this amazing essay by a philosopher named Alvin Plantinga called Advice to Christian Philosophers. And it changed my life. And one of the things that Al pointed out was that, vain philosophy is a problem, but not philosophy per se, because in fact, what is philosophy except the two Greek words, phileo and sophia, the love of wisdom? And he introduced me to this long stream of Christian tradition going back to the earliest centuries, where they said, in fact, because Christ is the wisdom of God, in a way, the Christian life is almost philosophia. It's the pursuit of wisdom. It's the love of wisdom. And so other Christians showed me, oh, no, that sense of animosity between the two, that's an invention, that's a fiction. In fact, the most integrated biblical picture is that to pursue wisdom is to find Christ, and philosophy could be a pathway. A preamble to faith is the way Thomas Aquinas put it. And that just sort of opened up a whole world. But most importantly, it resonated with my soul because I felt like I could see how philosophy could serve my faith and help deepen it. And I'm so grateful. I'm just really indebted to Plantinga and his generation, who sort of modeled for us and gave us that advice to Christian philosophers. I'm a Christian philosopher because of it. Philosophy as a pursuit, even for someone who is a Christian philosopher, is in a sense to expose yourself to the possibility of being unsettled in your faith. And there have been, and will be questions that I will have to wrestle with as a philosopher that I don't have answers to right away, and maybe still don't. Probably one of the questions that philosophers keep encountering and have to grapple with is what we call the problem of evil. How is it that an all-powerful, perfectly good God would create a world in which we experience the injustice and oppression and brokenness and tragedy that we do? It's a perennial question. I think when I was, especially as a young person grappling with that question, that was an exposure of my faith. But I had to go through it. I had to work through that as a question of intellectual integrity. Otherwise, I was just putting my head in the sand and avoiding the hard questions. I don't think God is scared of the hard questions. I don't think God is scared of the big, difficult questions. In fact, I think God wants us to ask those questions courageously and not assume that we have the solution to the puzzle, but that we are wrestling with God in that question. And so for me, the Psalms of Lament, the reality of the cross, the triumph of the resurrection, if you ask, do I have an answer to the problem of evil? I just have to bear witness to that story of the God who identifies with us in an evil, broken world and overcomes it. And philosophy was part of what got me there.